to stop evil, knowing the vision. Glad to stop people going to prison. Future, present, and odd past. Super presence on podcasts. Laughing or frown, lasting or drown. Sat on pods like passing the crown. Odd pass, you pick out plain English. Podcast, blue tick, and James English.
Been through a lot and came out the other side. Learned a lot about myself along the ride. Now I'm living my best life.
Hey honeys, I'm Neah Inspired. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Everyone, can you make sure that you share, comment and like, and if you're not subscribed, get involved, honeys. Today, my amazing guest is Katie.
Hiya.
Big up Katie. Me and Katie we're great friends actually.
We are.
And we was actually away together.
We were.
We was actually in a cell together for a bit.
Well, that's a polite way of putting it, babe.
What a vibe.
It felt more like a shoebox, to be fair.
What a vibe. Do you remember when you sewed my extensions in?
Do you know what, darling? I've used knitting needles in my life. I've never used a sewing needle for sewing in hair. I felt like a Sasquatch was being born.
You absolutely changed the game, honey. The way I was strutting around that wing the next day.
Babe, you gave me inspiration. I didn't give a minor fuck about my appearance at times, and you'd come out swinging. Hair done, lips done, outfit on. I'd be like, where are we?
I know, this
So
cruise would be
fashion
like,
week.
where are you
Yeah.
going? I'd be like, well, obviously nowhere.
Up and down the wing and back.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's all about imagination, honey.
Absolutely.
Anyway, we're not here to talk about that today. We're here to talk about you, girl. So tell us a little bit about, you're from Brighton, right?
I am. Grew up there, yeah.
Big up Brighton.
Big up Brighton.
We've been there. I've been down a couple of times, haven't I? Anyway, that's for another episode.
Wasn't remotely messy.
But what was it? Explain a little bit more to us about what it was like for you growing up.
So I come from a really big bloody family.
Yeah.
Everyone's
Are they all nuts?
absolutely bonkers. But ironically, 97% of them have always been drug free.
Right.
Minor mental health issues,
Yeah.
minor alcohol issues, but actually I am the fundamental fuck up of the family. Straight up.
Join the club.
Hey, pink sheep, I like to refer myself as opposed to black sheep.
Yeah, I love that.
So, but yeah, with all my sisters and my parents, stuff like that, I've rewrote the narrative in the right ways and the wrong ways.
Yeah.
Growing up in Brighton was a complete vibe, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
Like, it's quit me in life for other things.
Yeah.
Because it just means I saw some pretty odd shit growing up.
Yeah.
Which not a lot of people probably did. Or if they did, it was probably in a slightly different way. And to be honest, up until my very late 20s, I was what can only be described as a very good person, good girl.
Yeah.
Like never in trouble with the law, nothing like that. Or was it just that I maybe got away with a lot of things?
Yes, probably.
Story for another day.
Benefit the tape,
Right?
yeah.
For those of government listening. Yeah. So
So what happened then after that? You know, you come from pretty average, everyone's well put together kind of lifestyle and family, and then what happened in your 20s for things to kind of spiral and change
I was
for
the
you?
oldest girl.
Yeah.
So I was immediately naughty for everything regardless.
Yeah.
But then as soon as I was able to flee the nest, I just wanted to experience the world.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, the world is quite, how should we put this?
Yeah, quite
Exciting.
colourful place.
It's quite colourful,
Yeah.
quite exciting.
Yeah.
And I realised that although I had a very consistent desire to be in the design industry, there was also an alternative flex around that, surrounding graffiti, festivals and those kind of things. So I just started. It's a bit of a long story with that kind of thing with a lot of people that have been in the system.
Yeah,
you fall in with the wrong crowd.
Yeah,
and even though I'm very independent in who I am, I'm quite excitable in the things that I enjoy. So I'm like, oh,
exactly.
And I'm not going to deny. Sometimes I didn't really think some of the things I was doing, although weren't necessarily legal, were actually that bad.
Yeah.
So it took me a long time to wrap my head around the fact that just because, it wasn't.
Did something happen that was significant in your 20s for that to kind of?
To be honest, it happened a hell of a lot earlier than that.
Do you want to go into that?
Don't mind actually.
Yeah.
When I was 9, I was sexually assaulted by a doctor. He basically broke into my home. Yeah. What? Well, I say broke into my home. That's not entirely true. He came to my home as an emergency doctor. Yeah.
Right.
He tricked my dad into leaving the room. Whilst my dad was out of the room, he sexually assaulted me. I immediately told my mum.
Yeah.
It went to Lewis Crown. Due to lack of evidence, the case collapsed. And then 20 years later, through a loophole, he'd got work as a police doctor, his crimes had escalated, etc., etc.
Really?
Yeah, so he's now rotting in Lewis.
Good.
Thank fuck.
Good, yeah.
But it meant that
hell.
as a grown woman,
Yeah.
when something dark happened, I wasn't a kid anymore.
Yeah.
And that was what really changed it, because then all
Yeah.
of a sudden I'm like, hang on a minute, Like, if I don't take care of business, who the hell is?
Yeah, I know, for real.
And that was a real kind of, through a lot of therapy, which I know you've always had yourself, my girl, we understand ourselves a bit better as what's gone on.
You learn you have to, don't you?
So I think that when you're sexualised as a young person, particularly as a woman, I don't want to be sexist about it, but particularly as a woman, all of a sudden you're made to grow up in a way that you're not really ready for.
Yeah.
So
Because you're kind of forced into being a woman, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden I'm like...
and you have no...
absolutely.
Yeah.
I didn't have any of that pubescency to actually back it. I was just like, I'm a grown-up woman in a little girl's world.
Yeah.
So that was pretty messed up.
Really, really sad.
But then in my late 20s, I just really was just excited to be feeling liberated and happy. And that came...
And you don't want to let that go, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But it means you can sometimes put yourself in vulnerable situations.
Of course you can, because then it's like, that's the feeling that is so opposite to how you'd felt, that you don't want it to die, and you don't want that to go down, and for that to be maintained, that consists of drugs. Crazy places, wild stuff. But to you, it's like an illusion. It's like surreal. You're just, as long as you're not present.
Everyone's family's pretty messed up, let's face it, and in their own little ways. Now, when all you've known is chaos, you create chaos.
Because you almost become addicted to it, because it's your comfortable.
Exactly that. So that for me has been the most difficult path to tread of all of them. Of all the paths I've trodden, it's how do I find that drive, that excitement, that
always
feeling,
trying to chase it.
Always trying to chase it, but in a way that it's not going to put me at death's door or in predicaments where I'm maybe compromised or vulnerable. So challenging,
very challenging.
Absolutely.
What happened in terms of, explain a bit more to us about you obviously you ended up in jail. We banged up together. What's the kind of backstory of that?
So my son was born in 2011. I quickly realised early doors that I actually wasn't legitimately in love with his father the way that he deserved to be, or the way my son deserved to be that example to be set for. So I broke up with him. I then fell in a very abusive relationship with somebody. I then lied to my son's father about it.
Right.
Obviously that happens,
as you would.
Obviously that happens quite a lot. In regardless of the sex of the relationship, you want to try and protect the people you love.
Of course you do.
So I withheld.
And you know that it's unhealthy.
Of course, I was ashamed.
And you want to protect it.
Of course, I was ashamed. That's the truth of it. So his dad, quite understandably, was like, "I'm not prepared to have my son around that kind of violence." Now at this point, and still to this day, unfortunately, there's no legal aid in family law unless the perpetrator of domestic violence is the father of the child. So I then gave up my very nice place in Hove, moved into a shared house, and the guy that owned the property effectively came into my room in the middle of the night with my best friend Decca next to me and raped me in my sleep. And I flipped, quite frankly, but not at the time. Otherwise, that would have been self-defence. What I actually did was I spent 5 days blaming myself that I put myself in this vulnerable situation by feeling a relationship, blah, 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 blah.
All of that going round and round in your head. And that happens. That is so common for women that have been abused.
Yeah, victim blaming. It's ridiculous.
Because you're made to feel shame. You feel like you've brought it on yourself. You feel like it's your fault. And all these crazy stuff goes round and round in your head. The blame, the shame,
did I bring
the
it
guilt.
on myself? Did I deserve it? Did I give them mixed signals?
Wrong signals.
Madness. No, the truth of the matter is, male or female, you should be able to do naked cartwheels down the street without fear of somebody crossing a boundary.
1,000,000%.
So I took it upon myself to confront this individual and say, what the hell were you thinking? What was that?
Well,
And their response was, you loved it. So my response was to go home and take care of business.
So what happened?
I went home, I got a knife.
Went back?
And I went and found him.
Did you hurt him?
Pretty badly, yeah. I never wanted to kill him. I'm not even sure I really wanted to hurt him. In my mind...
hurt people, my darling, right? And if anyone... I don't think there'll be a person in the world that would judge you for that. Well, do you know what? Bollocks, there will be.
Yeah, there will be.
But at the end of the day, with or without you doing that, you suffered for that.
I paid my price.
You are going to suffer for that.
Yeah.
And none of that was your fault. You have then... lashing out from that pain for what he's done to you, the impact that's had on your life.
Well, I now know that,
and you've ended up in jail.
Through extensive therapy. Well, that's because I didn't do it at the time of the event. That would have been self-defence. But I've now learnt through...
How long did... So you've gone back, you stabbed him.
Yeah.
How long did you get?
I got 8, I did 4.
And what... obviously, when you're in court... Did you explain... Obviously, you explained to him
I did what's called a basis of plea. So it's basically...
mitigation.
I say mea culpa... this is what happened, this is why it happened. So they then had a duty of care to do an investigation.
Yeah.
Now, it transpired that this individual had 2 previous convictions, sex offences. He was actually known to Sussex Police for subletting his property. Proper wrong'un. Yeah. I mean, there was even...
But then who takes responsibility for that? Nobody. You end up in jail. Nobody's going to... You know, he's got a history of sex offences.
Yeah. And he's now... So
it's fucking...
It's madness. It's absolute madness.
Really makes me go divvy.
It makes me go nuts.
Yeah, and all the women... There's so many abused women... And they are the ones punished over and over again. Like they're not punishing themselves for the... You know, the awful event that has happened to them. They're going to be punishing themselves for that and feeling loads of,
let me ask you,
anyway.
How often do we hear, especially in the press, propaganda bullshit, of she was wearing a short skirt, she brought it on herself, or she was blind drunk, she brought it on herself, or she walked down a dark street, you know, on her own, and then, again, everyone to blame. I mean, I remember being a teenage girl, and sometimes I'd miss my last bus home. Yeah. So I'd have to get a different bus and take a slightly different detour, and knowing I had to walk down the street with my keys in my hand. Yeah. Just for that feeling.
1,000,000%. And I used to do that. I used to have 999 on my phone.
I used to pretend to be on the phone. Yeah. With my keys in my hand.
So if there was anything, I'd just press it so they'd get my location. Yeah. That fearful. And that's scared, because that is what happens when you people have took advantage of you. Sadly.
You live in that constant flight or fight mode.
Constant
And now
fear.
I've had a daughter, that fire in my belly, in order to protect the sisterhood, has gone through the roof. Yeah, of course. And I've taken a very different stance in the world now to what it used to be. And I don't want to say I'm jaded, because I'm not. And I don't want to say I'm pessimistic, because I'm not. Yeah, but I certainly look at the world in a way that I'm like, I know, babe. How do we navigate this now?
I know, babe. Me too.
Because there are so many amazing people, men and women out there, that are discredited in ways that they don't deserve, and then people that do deserve to be discredited are not.
Yeah, I know, 1,000,000%.
That's shit.
How did you feel when you went to prison for stabbing the guy that had raped you? How did you feel? Even though you take accountability, you did stab him. These are the reasons why I stabbed him. But when you've then actually got that sentence and gone to prison for it, how did that feel to you?
Do you know what? To be really honest with you, and this is really uncomfortable to admit, equal amounts of shame and proud. Because I don't like to think of myself as a violent human being. Yeah. However, you better believe, especially now, as I said, I've got sisters and I've got a daughter. Yeah. Whatever the fuck it takes. Yeah. And sometimes, unfortunately, the benefit and the burden are not that too dissimilar.
Yeah, I know, babe.
And that is an uncomfortable pill to swallow. Because
it is.
I can't condone what I did. Yeah. Because the people that surrounding that situation, not just with what happened with me, but I mean with what happened with him, the people that witnessed what happened, they're the people I think about. I mean,
so was there witnesses
Sycamore Tree.
and
Do you remember that course we did, Sycamore Tree?
Yeah, the
when you realise about
thing.
the ripple effect of things.
Of course.
That's where I mostly feel the guilt, if I'm honest.
Because they was innocent people like you was.
Exactly.
So that's why, because you'll be empathetic towards that. Because ultimately, you did not want to traumatise or hurt anybody, but then at the same time, you wanted
I wanted to feel something that was going to be done. Yeah. And having seen a doctor get away with it for 20 years and nothing be done, I realised again from lots of therapy that was part of it.
How did your family feel
about
the
mortified?
The
absolutely mortified.
Thing?
Oh my God.
The doctor thing.
But, wow.
Because obviously they've let this guy in your house, the doctor.
Well, my dad still blames himself.
Does he?
Yeah, because my mum was upstairs with my little sisters.
Right.
He was what's called an emergency doctor. So it should have been my doctor at the time, but because he was unavailable, they sent him to an emergency doctor. So my dad, for a very long time, blamed himself. He said some pretty unsavoury things about which he wished he'd been able to do outside Lewis Crown, which I won't repeat. You know, plead the fifth and all that. My dad, I mean.
Oh, right. Yeah. Oh, God, I was going to say.
No. I mean, my dad's like, my dad's been very vocal in the sense of going, do you know what?
I'm not bloody surprised, darling. I'm not surprised. You're his little girl.
So it did mean that as a grown woman, when this happened, those that really knew me, family and friends, aligned and went, there is no way in a million years Katie would be capable of that, and there's something really bad had happened.
Really bad.
And that meant the world to me, because actually I felt such shame about what I'd done.
Listen, anyone can go to the edge, my babe. You can push any good person can go to the edge of absolute rage and despair, given the a certain level of trauma and pain.
Well, that's what I did learn whilst we were away together. Yeah, actually, anybody's capable of anything. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go into detail here, but you and I know some of the spaces we've spent with some people that seem incapable of certain things, and we've thought, God, I've got to wake up to this person next door.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
But it's also humbling because you think, you know what? Walk a mile in my shoes.
Yeah.
I can't really put myself on a pedestal.
No, definitely not. 1,000,000%. How have you found it? So obviously you've gone away. You've got the 8 years for that.
Yeah.
A mixture of shame and proud, straight. You know that what you done was you needed to.
Yeah.
For you.
Yeah.
To get a sense of validation of justice.
Sad as it sounds, it was cathartic.
Yeah.
And again, that comes with its own amount of shame.
Yeah.
Because who in their right mind can feel catharsis from committing a violent offence? Well, again, that's something I've had to own.
Yeah.
And that's something I've had to really adopt within myself and make peace with. Because I can't allow the light in without allowing the dark.
No,
otherwise
for
I'd be very
sure.
disingenuous.
Yeah. 1,000,000%, my babe. 1,000,000%. So from that, what did you learn? What did you learn about yourself in there?
That I don't need sexual validation from men in order to feel good about myself.
Pop, louder. Louder
I
for
don't
the people
seek
in the
sexual
back.
validation from men from sex.
No, we don't. Sisterhood. You heard it here first. No, for sure. And that alone is a very,
Oh my God, it was such a
very
gift.
powerful.
4 years of celibacy will do that to a girl.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I wouldn't mind, I'm pretty fluid in my life.
Yeah.
So I've had my moments, don't get me wrong.
I love
but
it.
I did choose to become a bit of a nun.
Yeah.
I may as well have had enough
But it's to give that, you know, that makes you feel strong.
Yeah, it does.
Right?
Also made me terrified about intimacy again. But the benefit of it was, you know what? I had to dig really deep within myself. There's a fantastic quote, actually, and I can't remember off the top of my head who said it, but it was, I've never found a companion as companionable as solitude.
Oh my God, I love that.
And during our COVID
so
moments,
true.
when we were literally on 24-hour lockdown,
Oh,
and we were just on
gosh.
our own, in our rooms, with fuck knows what.
That changed my life.
That changed my life.
That changed my life so much. It was the most hardest, painfulest, you know, having to, honest, raw place I've ever had been forced.
It was soul stripping, wasn't it?
Sit in.
Yeah.
But, you know, the
You just said it there.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it. And, you know, but the most rewarding.
Absolutely. Because I realised during that time, and, you know, again, there's an element of shame surrounding this. I realised that even up until that point, there was probably an aspect of me that did seek some kind of validation, whether it be from working the maintenance party or paint party, or from certain individuals, whatever. So to be stripped of all of that.
All of that. That's painful, isn't it?
Yeah. Very much so.
But the power, come
Oh
out,
my
darling,
God,
like rhino skin.
Absolutely.
After that.
Yeah.
Literally fierce, strong, powerful. And it's what is that quote again?
I never found a companion as companionable as solitude.
And it's so powerful. And do you know what? How underrated it is in this world?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because everybody, especially in this world, so busy, so caught up in things, being in a situation like that we was in, you are never willingly going to put yourself in that.
Of course not.
So the whole world, so many people,
yeah.
they're caught up in so much distraction. No one knows who they are.
Yeah.
No one's dealing with facing stuff that they may need to like really grow and accept and stuff like that. So everyone's carrying this guilt, this shame, this pain, this trauma, and just distracting, whether it be drink, drugs, people, you know, all sorts of stuff.
Do you know what, I'll never forget, when I was in the
It's
library one
crazy.
time, T came in, and she asked me if I knew about Sun Tzu, the Art of War, and I went, oh, do I?
Yeah.
Yes, T. I went, let me tell you a little something about that. I went, if you know yourself and you know thy enemy, you need not fear 100 battles.
Amen.
And she went, I want to read that book. I went, now you do.
Yeah.
Here.
Powerful. I love stuff like that. It's so powerful.
Books saved me in there.
Yeah.
And
Me
And
too.
it helped me save some of the women I respected.
Yeah.
Because I knew that.
You see them
even
going.
Exactly. I could see them. I could see them going in a certain direction.
I saw some
mentally.
really strong, powerful girls that I'd known for years through that COVID solitude part of it become shells of who they was.
We actually lost people.
Yeah,
do you remember?
people actually
people
died.
Actually passed away.
Really,
but
really
emotionally
sad.
They died.
Really, really
and
sad.
it was very.
So
it was
credit
harrowing.
to us to go through that and gain real strength from that, because there's not a lot of people that survive
I'm not
that.
sure I'd take it back, you know, darling.
No, neither
I'm
would
not
I.
sure I would. Although it was the darkest
Yeah.
period, particularly when my father nearly passed away just before Christmas.
Oh, awful.
And that for me was the most That for me, out of
Hard.
all of it, was the hardest thing
Yeah,
of all,
because
because
you're
my
so
dad's always been.
stuck.
My dad has always
He's
been
been
my
your
hero.
rock,
He's
yeah.
such a good man.
Yeah.
He's such a strong, capable man.
Yeah.
And to feel that, what's the word I'm looking for? To feel that enabled to be able to be there supporting him and support my family and stuff like that.
It rips you apart, doesn't it? Really does.
Very much
Absolutely.
so.
You can almost feel it ripping you apart, can't you?
Yeah.
How have you found, since you've got out? Tell me a bit about life when Katie's back in Brighton.
So I've been trying to find my way. I mean, I
Yeah.
signed a non-compete for a label that I was working for in 2016, just before I went away, actually. So I'm not out of that for nearly another 18 months. So with regards to my design career, that's kind of had to take sit on the back burner because I can't use any of my
Of course,
patterns.
You've had a daughter.
I've had a daughter.
Right.
But I mean, look, one hand washed the other with that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I would have ever felt confident enough to have a daughter had I not been through.
Tell me about that. How would all this? Yeah.
Well, that's dark, quite frankly. So, long story short, she's the best thing that's ever happened next to my son.
Of course she is.
She's
She's
absolutely
so beautiful.
amazing. She has, however, been punished for my offence. When I was pregnant with her, I was still considered high risk,
Yeah.
which meant that because I'd come out of an
She
abuse-
goes on child protection.
went on child protection, except I then moved, which meant they didn't file the right paperwork at the right time.
Right.
Now that was a huge fuck up on their part. So it meant I went through a very lengthy court battle. They're basically trying to get my daughter adopted, which I'm going to have to oppose.
So they've taken her.
They're trying to.
Right.
They're going over to the fat lady singing, and guess what? I'm a size 8, so they can kiss my ass. Quite frankly.
Tell them.
But
And
yeah.
that is so. And that's because you're high risk.
Yeah. So that
Babe,
my
I had all
probation's, my
that.
probation's now lowered my risk to
Right.
medium.
Okay.
But if they'd done it when she was being born and I was medium risk, I could have got a mother and baby unit. But because I was considered still high risk, I wasn't allowed to be in an environment with mother and baby units. So
Right, of course you're not.
So they've weaponised my
Because you're not allowed with people that are classed as vulnerable.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
which is
that's
absolutely wild
nuts.
because
Yeah.
you're maybe classed as high risk. Babe, I've had this because I've got it taken off now,
Yeah.
but it was on my licence that because I'm high risk, if I ever, I haven't got any children, but if I have any children whilst on licence, they're going to go on child protection. That to
Yeah.
me absolutely
Really
blew
not
my
smart.
head and I was like, what the fuck?
Do you know what bugs
And
me,
I called
honey?
them up and I was literally saying, no, I've never been a risk to children in any way.
It's such a huge bracket, though, isn't it?
How
And when
the
you think
hell
about
can
some
you
of the
do
people who we're
this?
inside with have actually physically and mentally abused their children.
And you stab a guy that rapes you. I glass a man that batters me.
I know.
But then if I have a baby, God damn it, I'll be, they're not safe.
The lengths I'd go to protect my daughter.
Of
is
course,
unfathomable.
especially from the things that you've been,
Yeah.
the things that we've been through as a woman.
Yeah.
It makes you. It tears you, it could tear you apart inside, but externally, it makes you so protective,
Absolutely.
so loyal, so
Absolutely.
caring,
Absolutely.
so protected. It gives you traits that cannot be compared to. Very, very
What
hard
was
to
it I
be
joked about with you
matched.
earlier? I said, cool, nothing's made me more nuts than having 4 ovaries at one point. Like, that really did. She's equipped me with the biggest strength and the biggest weakness of all time.
Yeah.
And I know where I stand at this moment in time right now. I have to keep sane, strong,
Of course you do.
and focused, because the alternative, quite frankly, isn't an option.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what does the future kind of hold for that situation for you? Do you feel now, obviously probation, they've dropped your risk. Obviously that must have been absolutely heartbreaking
They're
for
quite
you.
frankly apologetic. They're like, I keep hearing words like systemic failings
they
and
are.
bureaucratic red tape
It means
and blah,
nothing.
blah, blah. And these
Means
words
nothing.
don't count for shit.
Thanks for your
Yeah,
words. Well,
yeah.
I want my daughter.
So my probation officer actually said to me recently, and I asked if I could quote her on this. She said, I don't see you as a risk to the public. At the moment, the way everything's going, I'm worried about risk to yourself. I went,
yeah.
no shit.
Yeah.
I said, luckily
Well,
for me, I've got the
obviously.
mental capacity to be able
Yeah.
to keep strong. I
Yeah,
said, because if we
luckily.
put someone else
And that's
in the
by
ground-
luck, not judgment,
yeah,
darling.
absolutely, Absolutely.
1,000,000%. How? So when that's happened,
Mm.
you've been through, the abuse, the rape, the prison. I don't believe that, you should I definitely don't believe you should have got that long. I think it's
Well, to be honest, I'm quite lucky. I could have got up to
disgusting.
35.
Yeah, and I think that's
But even
absolutely
so-
disgusting.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. That's
Yeah.
my opinion, and I'm quite controversial,
Yeah.
and I don't care. It is what it is. But I pride myself on my integrity. I do what I say.
Same.
I say what I do.
Same.
And if you agree, you do. If you don't, I don't
Same.
really care.
Same.
Do you know what I mean?
And
but
God,
yeah.
we agree. I wouldn't ask to fall out. Can you
Yeah, I
imagine?
know. Can you imagine?
Oh, God.
No one would give up.
My God.
But yeah, 1,000,000%. So I do think that is. I think that's a shame.
It is.
I think the system should feel shame for you having to do that.
As I've said consistently of late, for me at the moment, even though I'm obviously experiencing it and it's relevant and current, it's not about me at the moment. Yeah. It's about the women that come after me.
Yeah, exactly.
It's about their daughters. It's about the bigger picture. Because if I'm not part of the solution, I'm part of the problem.
Exactly.
And I ain't going to be no one's problem anymore.
Exactly. And prevention is better than cure, my
absolutely.
darling. It really is. But it's hard because, do you know what? There's so much going on in this world that's really so messed up. We need to protect our young girls.
Absolutely.
You know, they need to be safe.
There needs to be more of an open conversation about, and you know, there's been a lot in recent years about Ask for Angela and things like that. I cannot believe it's taken until 2024 for some of the legislation to be brought in. I mean, we touched on it briefly earlier about women's safe spaces and how south that can go. Yeah. I mean, I find it astounding that it's taken this long for certain things to be put in place, because I just think,
%.
I mean, I don't know if you remember, but my great-grandmother, she was a suffragette.
Oh, so wow.
She's one of the reasons that we as women get the vote.
Yeah.
Big up Irene Renwick.
Yeah.
My girl.
Big up. So, I love that. Powerful women.
I
Powerful.
See her, I see her.
And you've got them traits.
I know.
Yeah.
I do.
And I love that. What, through all of that, what inspires you? Like, what makes you, you know, still be you and still believe, still believe in hope for yourself, for your daughter, for the future, for the younger generation?
I've asked myself this a lot recently, and I've realised that generally, for me personally, it's I don't want to say it's black and white because that's the wrong word, but I can very easily tell who's a bad egg and who's a good egg. Yeah. And
me too. Very good. Yeah. And I feel like the reason why we like that is because we've met so many bad people.
And also maybe because I've seen parts of myself that haven't been particularly nice.
Yeah, the mirror.
When you've had to look at yourself hard and say, who am I? Yeah. What have I done? Yeah. What am I capable of? Yeah. What would I be capable of? Yeah. Etc. Etc. Etc.
What traits about me are damaging?
It makes you a very astute judge of character.
Of course it does.
And I've also, on that note, met some people that have done some very despicable things.
Yeah, 1,000,000%.
But I've also been able to kind of empathise with them. Yeah. And that was, again, very humbling.
Yeah, very humbling that. Because you can actually look at them and the things that they've done and kind of take yourself to places where you've been and think, could I have been capable of that?
Oh my God.
Have I treated someone like that before?
Face it, some of the women I was inside with, they've bumped off 4 husbands. And I'm thinking, Jesus Christ.
Well, I
thought I was naughty. Bloody hell, you've got a pig farm, you've got arsenic, you've got this and that. Do you know what I mean? Next level.
It's true. It really is. It really is.
So, yeah. I mean,
what's next for you?
Do you know what? Truthfully, I want to establish myself as an artist politically, more than anything, to support all the causes that surround me. Mental health.
Yeah. Educate, motivate, inspire.
Amen that.
That's it. Love it.
You've also been a massive factor in that. And I know you don't like making this about you, but I don't think you quite appreciate what a powerhouse of a woman you are.
Oh,
and how much you infuse me and women around you with such confidence and inspiration.
Oh, that means the world to me. I love that. Thank you. Stop and make me well up.
No,
I know, but that really means so much to me from you because, we've been in some of the darkest places together.
We've been in the trenches.
We've been in the trenches
and
together.
At a street gig. Do you know what I mean?
Darling, we've been at the trenches and we've been out here living our best lives. So for you to have seen me in a position like that, I was sitting there with double figures on my head, in prison and been through in some dark places, and for you to see the growth and to credit me for that makes me reassures me that I'm doing all right.
If I haven't told you enough, you have always consistently been you.
Yeah.
You haven't.
I've never changed, have I?
You haven't derailed from that.
No.
One bit.
No.
And thank God.
Definitely. I
love
know.
you. I love you.
Thank you. I love you, my darling. Well, Katie, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
It's been an absolute pleasure. And I really wish you all the best of luck, love, health, wealth, prosperity
be my bridesmaid
in the future. Oh, my God. We're going to the chat full. Throw me the bouquet.
Okay.
Throw me the bouquet.
Make sure you're wearing it 8-inch platforms, babe, because, it's basically...
Do you see me trip over me? I'm telling you. Don't even go there.
Oh, God. Don't. I'm never going to forget that image of my life today.
I literally just walked out the house. I'm about half an hour late already. I've already had a huge wardrobe malfunction. I then run out, strutting my stuff in my wedges, brand new, snap, bang, I'm on the floor. I'm just lucky that my ankle didn't go.
You literally did a tumble turn. You're like an Olympic diver. I was like,
I never knew I had it in me.
I loved it.
He's like, you're right. I need some
nothing to see here, dragging your foot behind you. I was like, oh, okay. I love you, girl. I love you so much.
Oh, my babe, don't. Just another day in the life. But anyway, everyone, can you make sure that you like, share and comment and follow amazing Katie? Your
my Insta handle is KatieBruzyKins.
You heard it here first. Is there anything you'd like to say to everyone before we wrap up? Anything to all the young girls out there, or anyone that's been through any kind of traumatic situation or abuse or
Do you know what? I'm actually going to quote my favourite artist of all time. Her name was Frida Kahlo. And she said, I tried to drown my sorrows, but the bastards learnt to swim.
Amen. Hear that? I love that. Thank you, Kate. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Darling.
Take care.
Love you.
Love you. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Neah Inspired.
Now I'm living my best life.